What's going on, guys? Christian here from CK Wraps. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Now, I'm going to talk to you today about pricing out a car wrap or a vehicle wrap for the most part. I have I have 6 cars here right now, and we're going to go over these cars individually and discuss sort of their features and what's going on. Now, there are many variables to take into consideration when you are quoting a vehicle wrap. Because you have a sedan doesn't mean that all sedans are created equal. Just because you have a coupe doesn't mean all coupes are created equal. You're going to start to understand that. You know, we have a Mustang over here, that's a coupe, but we also have a Huracan here and an Aventador here, and these are both coupes. So, and I'm going to tell you that not all of these cars are as equally difficult or easy to wrap. And there's different points here. So, the things that you want to take into consideration when you are quoting someone on a vehicle wrap is the cost of material, the base color of the vehicle, what they actually want. Do they want inside the door jambs, or do they want just the exterior? Do they want, if the car's black, do they want the roof wrapped? And if the car's a Mercedes, do they want the mirrors wrapped to match? Because most Mercedes come with black mirrors now. There's many things to consider here, okay? Does the vehicle have a spoiler? Does it have an aftermarket body kit? Does it have an aftermarket lip kit? Is there anything additional on the vehicle that doesn't come with it from the factory that you might need to know you would be wrapping, for example? You have to ask these questions. They're very important. Because everything is time. It's not so much the cost of material in the end, it's the time that it takes to wrap all the extras. So, not only that, there's a different level to each one of these cars, okay? A Honda Civic is not going to be the same as a BMW. A BMW is not going to be the same as a Porsche. And a Porsche is not going to be the same as a Ferrari or Lamborghini. And a Lamborghini and a Ferrari isn't going to be the same as a Pagani or a Bugatti. So, we get into different tiers, okay? So what you sort of want to do is you want to break down your tiers of vehicles in their quality, not so much their quality, more of like their price point, okay? There's a price point for each of these vehicles that certain people can't afford. I can't afford a Bugatti, I can't afford a Lamborghini. Well, maybe I can afford a BMW. Okay, cool. So now I have a BMW. Well, you just paid for premium, so you do have there is a different degree when it comes to the disassembly. Never mind, I'm not talking about the actual paying more just because you have a BMW. The disassembly part of the car, okay? It's going to be easier to take apart a Hyundai Genesis like mine than it is going to be to take apart a BMW 335 coupe, and they're both coupes. So there's, like I said, there's levels. You're paying for a premium. On top of that, you want to make sure that when you're either wrapping someone's car or getting your car wrapped, that you're paying the right price. Because if you're not paying the right price and you're paying too low of a price, that means if somebody breaks something, they're sure as hell not going to fix it. You think about that. If I was charging like $1,000 for a wrap on a Lamborghini, and maybe I was making $400 and I broke something, and the person paid me in cash, I mean, if I was a crappy person, would I fix that? No. There's a lot of them out there. So I know I've had people who I've wrapped their car in the past, and they've come to me now, and they want to wrap again, but my price is higher. It can't remain the same. I was wrapping out of my garage back then. So they're unhappy with it. They move on to somebody else who had a lower price, and the lower price gave them the lower price job, and they got the lower price job, they got the lower priced material, and they got everything that they didn't really want, but they paid money for it in the end. So it really sucks to even spend. You don't want to spend a low amount of money or a high amount of money on things that you don't want. You would never buy something that you don't want. So take that into consideration when you are someone out there who is shopping for a vehicle wrap, that you are paying somewhere along the median, okay? You can't stray too far away from that. And then also on top of that, just because you're paying top dollar or even in the median, you got to make sure you do your research. It's very important. And for those of you who are offering wraps, make sure you are giving the quality that is being charged, okay? So let's say a BMW 335 coupe versus my car, for example. My car is a Genesis coupe. Let's say they're both black, and I'm doing a satin black wrap over top. Both hard tops with a sunroof, that's it, okay? 2 doors, 2 bumpers, 2 mirrors, 2 door handles, 2 of everything pretty much, other than 1 roof, 1 hood, 1 trunk. The BMW is going to cost more, right off the bat. My Genesis Coupe, let's say, around $2,500 for satin black over black. We're going to go with the BMW, you're going to be looking at around $28,000, $29,000, $3,000, somewhere around there possibly for satin black over black. You're just going to pay a little bit more. You want to make sure that if anything does break, it is being replaced, and there's extra handling that is involved when we are taking care of these cars. Okay, it's not like I'm not taking care of a Honda as much as I am a BMW. A lot of people are going to try and twist that. I know they are. It's that BMW will require a different type of handling. Okay, and that not everyone is accustomed to. So they might break something, and then okay, you want them to fix that, and you don't even maybe you don't want to know. If I break something, I just tell my customer, I'm like, hey, I'm buying it, and just in case, because I don't know if it's going to take a week to get here or a couple of days, or I can get it the same day or whatever. I have no idea. I let them know right away. That is the right thing to do. Things break, clips break, things like that. Okay, fine. Clips I can get anywhere from any dealership at pretty much any time, or body shops or anything like that. Okay, that's fine. Those are the things that break most frequently. Other than that, you get the odd thing that might break. You don't want to break a headlight, that's for sure. It's going to cost you a lot of money and stuff like that. Does anything else really break? No, not unless you drop it. But I did break the side mirror glass on a Huracan. This is a Huracan right here. And I broke the side mirror glass. I'll put a picture there for you guys to look at. It is, it sucked. I didn't even know how much the thing cost. And it actually wasn't that bad. It was like from Italy, from Lamborghini, directly from Italy. I think it took like 3 days or 4 days to get here, or 5 days. It was like 150 bucks Canadian after tax and everything shipped. Pretty good deal, actually. I thought it was gonna be like 500 or 600 bucks. If I had dropped the mirror, the whole mirror, that would have been a different story. But that's not what happened. I was trying to take it out. I took on the liability that this could break if I take it out, but I wanted to do a nicer job. Okay, I would take the glass out on any car. So the fact that it's a Lamborghini, it was a bit thinner, more fragile, and this is what I mean when it comes to liability. Okay, I'm not doing any less of a job on the Honda than I am the Lamborghini, and I'm trying to give the Lamborghini the best job that I can, because I would do that with the Honda. So I want to take that side mirror glass out, because that's important for me. That way I can get in there really nicely and do a nice job. Well, that happens, and I'm pretty sure those things are not meant to come off ever. They do have clips, and there's probably some special way to take it off. I have no idea. But anyways, I know every other shop that I talked to how to take them off. They didn't know. They just wrap around it. I like taking them out. I didn't want to be the wraparound guy, because I do it for Hondas. I want to do it for the Lambo. I want to take it out. Again, risk, right? So what we want to talk about on top of that is, so we've talked about what color or vinyls we're going to use and the cost of those. What we also want to talk about is the base color. Okay, this is a very vibrant base color. If we try to wrap this color in blue or red or black or pretty much anything that's not close to this, and we miss a millimeter, we're going to have to rewrap it pretty much. Like if we miss a millimeter and when we're trimming or whatever, or we didn't wrap far enough in, we're going to have to rewrap that panel. That's the part of it that we have to accept when we do stuff like this. So I might not get it perfect the first time. I might have to wrap this bumper twice, because it's very difficult. And on top of that, I mean, it's not the most difficult bumper. The other one over there is a little bit more difficult on the Aventador. We'll get into that. But you know, with the right techniques and the right install, okay, you can do it, but that doesn't change that things happen. Okay, so the risk of missing a small spot is there. It's a lot higher. If the car was black and I missed a small spot, I probably wouldn't even see it. Actually, I might not even know it's there. It's not that I would leave it like that. It's just that it might be so minor that you won't even see it. But you could leave literally a 1 millimeter of green showing on any part of this car, and you'll see it like a sore thumb. It's going to stand out. So we've got to be extra thorough when we're wrapping, and sometimes that requires rewrapping panels more than once. It's not ideal, but that's how it goes. So, because nobody's perfect, like I said, and like I've said many times, nobody's perfect, and we're human beings, we make mistakes. And On top of that, what I'm going to show you right now, okay? We're going to do a little walk around. And I'm going to show you some of these cars that we have in the shop right now. I was kind of hoping that, I came in here yesterday, I was kind of hoping these cars would be here today, so this front bumper is pretty straightforward. I could probably use an inlay in the top section there and then wrap most of this in one piece. It'd probably be fine, and do somewhat of a relief cut right in the corner there and have that fold over, and you wouldn't even really see a seam at all. So it's not terrible, and it has mostly black in the bottom. This is the Performante, so it's a lot different than the actual Huracan. Now, we get into the Aventador, okay? Look at the front bumper. It's much more intense. It's much more aggressive. The car's white. It's also a white car. It's also not that easy to wrap because white will show an edge as well. Black or any other dark color is basically the way you want to, or sorry, not the way, those are the easiest colors to wrap over because they're very forgiving. You could make a mistake and miss a small spot and not even know. What we also have to look at and to consider here is gaps, okay? I'm going to not drop the camera, but gaps. So deep down in these gaps, we're going to see green. We're going to see it way down in here, and it's like even down and under there. So we have to make sure that we're wrapping as thoroughly into these areas as possible, okay? Tucking in really, really nicely all the way around the window, and that's a tight seal. It's not easy. On top of that, we've got green that's always going to show through here unless we take either the fender or the door off and can wrap that piece. We won't be able to cover it. So there's some things that we're going to have to accept. And again, what you charge for the job is going to determine whether you remove the fender and wrap that piece or the door or not. I would say that if you're going into that extreme, that you're getting into the door jambs, and so then you're just charging them to wrap the door jambs. But when it comes to the rest of this, well, I want to make sure that I'm technically wrapping, and if I'm not wrapping the door jambs, up to this body line, this first body line right here, okay? This is the most important one because I know that if I cover that body line, and I can see green in there, you can't maybe see it with the camera, but I can see green in there. I know if I cover it up to that body line that I'm safe and I'm going to have good coverage. Not to mention, check out the door handles. We got to open them up because if you can't just cut along this edge and tuck the vinyl in because you're only going to get a millimeter when you have to go in, a quarter or half an inch. That's not going to work. A lot more work is involved. Getting all up in there. I've done one of these, right? So I've done pretty much the same car, but it was red over red. It wasn't much easier because we did it in satin chrome, and I was doing satin chrome by myself. It's difficult, but thank God it was red over red because it would have been even more difficult. But areas like this, we have deep recesses and pretty large gaps on the Lamborghini that need to be covered when we're wrapping it any other color than green. You gotta love this broken carbon fiber. This is really beautiful stuff. Side note. Oh, look at this section here. Other than like supercars or exotics, there aren't many coupes that I know of that have areas like this to wrap. And so if we were wrapping this car in chrome, that would be difficult. Even in a regular vinyl, this is not a one-piece area, okay? This is an area that we're going to need multiple pieces. You don't try to push it too far. But so now we talk about like the complex areas. Well, let's look at the areas that are actually pretty easy. The rear quarter panel is actually very easy. It doesn't even run through the pillar. The door is extremely flat, so if you can get the mirror off, which is a huge pain because you got to take the window out, then that's easy. The side lower rocker panel is black. It's supposed to be that way, so you leave it like that, and that doesn't even need to be wrapped as well. And then look at the bumper. The bumper isn't even a bumper. The bumper it's literally all the broken carbon fiber. It has a special name, I'm pretty sure. Someone can drop it in the comment below. But this is all there is to the bumper. This side and the same on the other side. The hatch itself, again, this is definitely a more complex area. The mirrors, they would probably remain black. This is the Performante. The front fender is actually pretty easy as well. It's pretty flat and just kind of comes flat right across the top. The hood is one of the easiest part of the car, other than maybe the door. The roof is difficult, okay? It's not that difficult. It's just that it's wider and longer than 60 inches, okay? This means that we have to cut vinyl somewhere around here and stretch it down. All these things matter, okay? So we look at the Huracan and the Performante, and then we go over to the Aventador, okay? Aventador is like an extra 300 or 400 grand, I'm pretty sure, as far as cost goes. So depending on the model, this is what, a 7. This is an Aventador S. All right, so it's up there. A lot more complex. We've got little hood vents right there. We've got side vents on the rear quarter panel, or whatever you want to call that. We've got crazy areas to reach into. Okay, kind of like the Huracan. It's not much worse. We've got this ridiculous area, and all these things, they add up in time. It's not even so much the material cost. You just have to have a baseline for the material cost. This looks like it's actually broken. I don't know if anyone noticed that, but that doesn't look great. I don't know if it's like that on the other side, but hey. And then we have the front bumper. So it's not only material cost, right? What we're looking at is the details, okay? Front bumper, and then look at the sensor. So the sensor is a separate piece, and we would wrap that individually. How, I don't even know. I've never done one of these sensors before, so I couldn't even tell you. It would be, I would wing it. How would I wrap the front bumper? I don't know. I would wing it. And so I would wing it. I would go about it in a way that I think makes sense. But again, that comes with experience. And would I get it the first time, or would my inlays look right the first time? I don't know. But that's just the way it is. And when you're doing cars like this and you don't do them very frequently, which I don't think anyone really does, maybe some people do, then these are things that you have to figure out. And just because you do it one way one time doesn't mean that's the best way to always do it that way. You can keep your mind open to different ways. So the rear bumper isn't terrible. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty flat. It's just that piece down here. It's a very skinny little piece, so it's not much of a rear bumper. But then we look at the gaps, okay? Check out those gaps and look how deep they are. And look all the white that shows all the way through. For me, personally, I would be selling this as I'm going to wrap all those gaps. I'm going to wrap every single one of those gaps. That's going to cost a little bit more, unless they don't want to. I don't see why they wouldn't want to, but they might not want to. So that's going to cost a little bit more in the end than if the car was black. They wouldn't need to do it. There wouldn't be as much of a need to do it if the car was black. They could save a few dollars, and you wouldn't see anything, because from back here, all the gaps just look black right now, but they are green in there when you get a little bit closer. So it really kind of depends on whose car you're wrapping and what they're after. So you're always trying to figure that out when you are speaking to someone about what they are looking for with a wrap. And you go into every detail. What model is it? Is it a Aventador S? Is it a 710? Is it a Performante, or is it a 610-4? Like, what is it? You know, these are things to keep in mind. Then we have this thing here, and this Charger is not easy to wrap. I'm going to tell you guys right now, this is not an easy car to wrap, and it's not worth a whole lot of money. I mean, this one's pretty banged up, but we're getting in, $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 to like $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. So the price difference isn't much, or sorry, is huge. But as far as the price difference of what the wrap costs, isn't going to really kind of justify this person who owns the Charger getting a wrap for their car, because this car will, though. At around 700,000 or so, this car is a wrap is going to be a very minor cost. When the wrap costs half the price of the car, which is kind of what it would be in this situation, I would quote this car, just so you guys would know, around $3,500, okay? And it's a 4-door. It's pretty flat when you're looking at it, right? Yeah, sure, it looks flat. The mirrors, I've attempted to go about these mirrors in a couple of different ways, and I haven't really found a great way of doing it. It's this part that becomes problematic, which I hate, this body line, and I hate this little indentation here. That's the difficult parts about it, right? So I'm going to tell you what's difficult about this one. The roof doesn't have any drip seals, but you can just use knifeless tape and seam it, not a big deal. The antenna doesn't need to be wrapped. The doors are very flat. The handles are super easy. They're probably one of the most easy door handles you could ever wrap. Trunk is easy. The rear quarter panel gets tricky right around here. That's about it. The rear bumper, though, man, it's not fun. Okay, so it has a heavy indentation right here. All right. My screen is just trying to figure out what's going on. All right. Yeah. So my the heavy, it has a heavy indentation here, where it goes almost in 90, and then it comes back up again. And on top of that, we've got a very intense taper across the bottom. I've taught how to wrap this bumper in my workshops. It's not fun. The bumper here also needs an inlay, okay? Inlay, inlay, 2 inlays. One on the back, and then one around. That's how I would do it. Is it necessary for everyone to do that? I don't know what you want to do and push it, but it's not always worth the risk. And would I do an inlay on the top here? No, because we'll actually have a lot of slack once we open the trunk. We'll have a lot of slack in that area. So we'll be able to feed the vinyl in really nicely, very tension free. The front bumper is also quite difficult on this car. So the front bumper here, I mean, it's pretty damaged, but ignore the damage, imagine it's brand new. This front bumper has a very heavy recess here. So we have our high points, which are right about here. If you put a flat cardboard, we have our high points, okay? The low point is about 50% stretch, okay, to the furthest point down. That's a lot of stretch. At most, you don't want to stretch vinyl more than 30%, so 50% is like huge. On top of that, down here, we don't have any really good, we need inlays and we need a seam, but we don't have any good places to do them. Not great places. You could try feeding the vinyl in from the bottom a little bit. Again, these are all little things that matter. You're going to need an inlay in here on the top. You're going to need an inlay in here across the whole center, that's for sure. So, and the hood's not flat as anyone thought it might have been, but it's not. So this area down here requires quite a bit of stretch if you don't feed the vinyl in properly. Where am I more likely to have failure? If I were to look at both these cars right here, I would probably have, I mean, the Lambos are pretty flat, and they're not really, I don't think they're going to be all that bad. As far as having failure goes, there would probably be almost none. I'd be worried about the mirrors on this one, that's for sure, pretty much always. Other than that, I'm not too worried about the rest of it. I can wrap the bumpers fine. Front bumper on this one, all right? Mustangs, they're not fun, you know how they are. If anyone who owns one of the more challenging wraps to do. You can see that whoever did this one did a seam there. I didn't do this one, but I don't know why it's here. I think it's the wrap's being removed from another shop. So someone did a seam there. It's easier, and they could have ran the seam, I suppose, more across that line there. It would have made more sense, but hey, whatever. I'm not. Again, there are ways to do it, and then there are better ways, okay? There's not always one way or the right way, but that might have been the first time doing it, and so, hey, whatever. If the customer was happy and they didn't complain, and you don't feel like you're taking advantage of them, that you are doing the best that you can, then that's okay. The wrap, you know, if the wrap looks good, that's okay. I'm not saying it's okay to do this. You do want to try to do better, okay? This hood is larger than 60 inches in all directions, so some stretch is required somewhat around here. That's what I do at the ends. The rest of the car is actually not bad at all. It doesn't really have much of a lower rocker panel. The door is flat. The rear quarter panel has an indentation in it, but it's really not that bad. The roof, you join the material with knifeless tape. The antenna isn't even wrapped actually, so you can see the car is gray. So a good car to wrap over. It's a gray car. So, I mean, can you even tell the transition? You really can't. And they didn't even, whoever wrapped it just went in kind of like right up to here. They didn't even go to the first edge here. All these things matter. If you had to wrap all of this, if you had to wrap the spoiler and that was paint matched, the rear bumper on this it's okay. It's not the easiest. It's not the hardest either. So let's get over to the BMW. This one has a ton of detail on it, guys. This is not the easiest one. This is an X6M. I love this thing, but it's not the easiest car to wrap. First of all, let's look at it. It's got a duckbill spoiler, sort of like these vent-looking things in the bumpers. It's got sensors all the way around. It's got wheel well trim, whatever this is, whatever you want to call it. It's an extra piece now. I wrap everything individually, so I never just pull out the whole sheet and then wrap it all in one shot. The door handles are very aggressive, especially around the back part here. They're very aggressive, so there's quite a high taper on it. So that makes them a little bit more challenging to wrap. The mirror's not too bad. It could probably be done in one piece. Just depending on how you manipulate the film. Again, front window, front wheel trim. We have trim along the roof, okay? In the drip sills. That all has to be wrapped. BMWs are infamous for that, actually. They have them always painted. Front bumper, what we're looking at? We're looking at a couple of inlays, that's for sure. We're looking at the fog lights. I'm gonna go and give you prices for all these cars afterwards, all right? I'm looking at the fog lights. I'm looking at the center beam here, right there. I'm looking at this lower section here. I'm looking at the top on the inside, up here. I'm looking at all kinds of different things. Fog light over here. The rest of it doesn't need any inlays. We should be good. So about 4 or 5 inlays, maybe 6. Lots to wrap on this thing, and it's not the worst, but there is a lot of detail. It's funny because you don't think about it. Little strip across the top here on the back window. Look at this. You have to look at these things. They're important. That's about it. So for this guy. Right? And I'm going to tell you how I would price out all these cars if they were red and I was doing a color change with an opposite color, or if they were all black and doing a color change with an opposite color. So then we have the Maserati here. I don't know why it's here. She's got real carbon fiber everywhere on this thing. But door handles. So door handles have to get wrapped. If I was just wrapping like what is wrapped on this car, the car's black, so I mean I didn't wrap this one, but they opted to leave that black, and I think there's a carbon fiber hood coming for it still. So that's black right now. The roof was left black, so it's just stayed that way. Yeah, I call that carbon fiber in the front end. So not a lot really had to be wrapped. You can do the bumper actually in 2 pieces because the license plate is mandatory here in Canada or in Ontario for a front one. And so you could seam that and do it in 2 separate sections, one on each side. Makes it a little bit easier. It's actually not as aggressive as it seems to be with all this extra stuff on it, okay? This has the flares as well. Not a big deal though. Right, and the lower side skirt didn't need to be wrapped. Like I said, door handles need to be wrapped, the roof and that spoiler didn't need to be wrapped. If this car was white though, that would be a different story, and we'll go over that in a second. All right, more carbon fiber down here and so on. So it's really dirty, but maybe it's here for a car wash. So that's how it goes as far as what you're looking at when you're looking at these cars, guys. I'm just going to restart the camera. All right, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to go over each of these cars and tell you what I would quote them if they were all the same color as this Huracan right here, or Performante. So if all these cars were green, now for the Performante, I'm going to quote this guy or the owner of this vehicle somewhere around $4,500 to $5,000 for red over top of the green. If that Aventador was green as well, I mean, even though it's white, so if I'm putting the red over the white, let's just keep it simple. Let's call it green. Put the red over the green. I'm going to quote this one somewhere around $5,500 or so, $6,000. Okay, that's what it's going to be. It might seem high to some of you. It might not seem like enough to some other shops out there. It depends. How quickly could I wrap this car? Well, that kind of comes down to the prep and the disassembly. Sorry. I could wrap the car in 2 to 3 days by myself if it's taken apart. If it's not taken apart, then we're looking at an extra day or so. So 4 to 5 days. My material cost, say it's Avery, not much, $700 or so, less technically, but let's say $700 for material cost. So the rest is labor. Labor and service is what you're paying for when you get a wrap. The Charger. Let's get the camera facing. So the Charger is going to be green, and I'm going to wrap that in gloss red. What am I going to charge for this one? I'm going to charge $3,500 or so to $3,800 somewhere around there. Is it worth it? That's totally up to the owner of the vehicle to decide. The price is high compared to the value of the car, but it's not the value of the car that matters, okay? It's going to take a bit of work and a little bit more than the Lamborghini, but it's also in a lower tier, so he's going to save some money on that, in a sense, that things will come apart a little bit easier, and I'll be able to wrap things a little bit easier. So when it comes to the Mustang, sitting in the back there, that car was green and I was wrapping it in red. It's going to be close to the Charger. It's probably going to be around 33 to 36, 35, somewhere around there, because I'm going to go in the extra mile, okay? And I'm going to give you a price for each one of these cars afterwards, if they were black. The M6 X6M, that one's going to be, it's going to be up there. It's going to be about $4,500 to $5,000, okay? Red over green. The Maserati, it's going to be lower, actually, because the way it sits right now, it's going to be much lower. It's going to be around $3,000. That's actually probably the lowest one here. It's actually the easiest one here to wrap. And unless it's like terribly easy, I won't go much lower than that. If it's like a Genesis Coupe, okay, I can give a deal for that, because I've done them a lot. Now, when it comes to the Performante, if that car was black and I wanted to wrap it red, I could drop the price by about $500. I could actually drop the price about $300 to $500 or so for each one of these cars, just because it's not that I'm not going to do as good of a job. It's just that I don't have to wrap in so far to cover the color. Because if the car's black, there's no point in wrapping 3 inches down into the pillars. There's just no point. The customer is not going to care. Why do they want to spend an extra $500 for something that they can't see? No. There's no chance. I'm not trying to scam anybody here. So you got to think about it like that. It's like I'm not doing less work. I'm actually doing sensible work, because otherwise we're just doing work that doesn't need to be done, and we're charging a customer for something that doesn't need to be done. So it's not that it's lesser of a job. It's just that it doesn't need to be done. This is an exterior aesthetic, okay? This is all about exterior appearance. What can I see from the outside? Well, if I can't see down into the pillar more than an inch or half an inch when it's black, then I don't need to wrap in there more than half an inch. But with the green, I know that I can see in there half an inch or an inch down. So I gotta go in there, I gotta get in there. That's it, that's just a matter of that. Same with the Aventador. It's gonna be, the Aventador could probably drop it even a little bit more, maybe like $500, $600, $700. But each one of these cars would get a decrease in the actual cost of what it would be to wrap them, just based off of the same material, but changing the base color. Now, if it was a navy blue or a dark gray, kind of similar to the Mustang, they could get a better price too. Because, again, certain areas of the car are not visible from the outside as they are with a color like this that's green. So I hope that this video has helped you guys and has been informative in a way for you to break down vehicle wrap quotes. What you're doing is you have to take into your consideration your skill level, your time. The cost of material is very low, usually, and if these are chrome wraps, it's all a different story, but I'm not telling you guys these as chrome wraps. I'm just telling you as ballpark car wraps, okay? I hope that it puts it into a better perspective, because I wanted to do a better video than the original one that I did, because I didn't think I was being thorough enough. And if you can imagine that this car was red, started off in green or black first, and you had to take a color and put that over top that was an opposite color, you would see now why it would be better to have a darker canvas to wrap over. It's money savings for the customer. It's just areas you don't have to wrap anymore. Again, what you want to make, if you're doing this as a side hustle, or you're doing this as a professional shop, or you're a professional shop that does other things but wants to incorporate wraps into your shop, you want to make money. You don't want to be taking a loss. It might take time to make some money until you speed up and get better at wrapping faster, or figure out a system where you have the car taken apart by someone, prepped by someone, put back together by someone, but then somebody wraps it. Okay, so you have people for individual jobs. Fortunately, I can do it all with myself. And sometimes I bring people in to do that kind of stuff, but it's rare. But yeah, until you work out a system, you will make money. You just got to figure out where you got to be. Be competitive if your work is good. Don't be shy. Charge what you're worth. But at the same time, if you don't have overhead to pay, then you're going to charge, and you're wrapping out of your garage at home, and you're putting out work that's as good as the best. Then, yeah, you could bring your price down if you wanted to bring in more work. That's totally up to you. Eventually, there's going to come a point where you're going to be booking in so much work that you should be raising your price. If you're so busy, then you should be raising your price, because you're coming in too low, then you're underselling yourself. All right. Again, hopefully that helps you guys price out a vehicle wrap. If there's any questions about this video, please drop them in the comment section below, and I will answer them, or I'll try to address them in other videos that I'll do in the future. I do have other videos on the way, and next week I do have a Mercedes to wrap in satin black. I think it's a satin black over black, right? So it gets a little bit better of a deal, but we're doing some chrome trim delete, and I'll have Alex here helping me do it as well. So I've got a partner this time, showing him the ropes, and he's good. He's been doing really well, actually. So I need someone to help me out. So guys, again, if you like the video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Take care.